chapter 3, verses 13 through 18. Don't plan on being before you too long today. All right, verse 13, it says, "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. But if ye have bitter envyings and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descended not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace." Let us pray. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for your word. We thank you, Lord, for who you are. Lord, today as I stand here and proclaim your word, decrease all of me and increase all of you. Holy Spirit, have your way. It is in Jesus Christ's name we do pray. Amen. Amen. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. We're still in the book of James, and this is part number 9 of this series that we're in. If you're taking notes today, we're going to talk about earthly wisdom and heavenly wisdom. Earthly wisdom and heavenly wisdom. Grace Center, we all should strive to obtain wisdom. We all should search for wisdom as if we're searching for buried treasure. We all should seek out and search for wisdom because wisdom is valuable and it's also very precious. Wisdom is so valuable, Grace Center, that James, he decided to address in this letter again wisdom as he discusses it again to the early church. He mentions wisdom earlier on in chapter 1, but he comes back to it again. So in chapter 1, when he talked about wisdom, he said, "If any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God, and God will not hold it back from you, and he will give it to you." Okay, that was in chapter 1. But now James decides to circle the wagon again and come right back around to wisdom. And in this letter here, he talks about 2 different types of wisdom. He talks about earthly wisdom, and he talks about heavenly wisdom. Okay, earthly wisdom and heavenly wisdom. So let's look at it here. Now remember, James is talking to believers. He's talking to the early church. Okay? So in verse number 13, he asks the question. The first part of that, he says, "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you?" All right? Now this is a rhetorical question, but it's still a question that will make you think. He wanted the church, he wanted the people to think about individuals who they considered to be wise. Was there anyone among them that they thought or they saw someone that exhibited or displayed wisdom? Grace Center, do you know anyone who is wise? Do you know anyone that has wisdom? Is it your father? Is it your mother? Is it your neighbor, your co-worker? Is it, a close friend? Is it the president? James. I don't know where that came from. James asked the question. He said, "Do you know anyone who is wise?" Do you know anyone who is wise? But then after he asked that question, he continues in verse number 13, and he shows the church on how to perform a litmus test to see if the person is really wise. We can test people to see if they're really wise. The second half of verse 13, it says, watch this, it says, let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. So James asks if there are any wise men or wise women among them. Then he says, one thing that you can do to test that person is that you can perform a test to see if they're wise. He says that if that individual, if they're boastful or if they're braggadocious, if they are arrogant, that person is not wise. Yeah, if you brag about everything, you're not wise. If I'm having a conversation with someone, and in this conversation, all they talk about is where they have been and who they may know and what they may have, straight off the rip, I know that person is not a wise person. That's a litmus test you can perform on someone to see if they're wise. You see, being wise is not always about what you have in your head, but it's also about what comes out of your mouth. That was so nice. Let me say that twice. Being wise is not always about what you have in your head, but it's also about what comes out of your mouth. As a matter of fact, do you sometimes see someone come in your direction and you go in the other direction because you just don't want to have a conversation with that individual? Because you already know what they're going to talk about once you have the conversation with them. You act like you on your phone, you turn another direction, you turn your head, you don't even look in their direction. I know I ain't the only one that sometimes do that. You already know what the conversation is going to be about. You already know that they're going to brag about, what they may have done and who they may know and all these different things. But all the time I've been living on this earth, I found out that sometimes when people brag about what they may have had that they probably never had it, if they brag about what they may have drove, they probably never drove it. If they brag about where they may have been, they probably never even been there. Wise people will not brag about certain things about what they may have had, where they may have been, or who they may even know. You see, being wise, Grace Center, is not just about your talk, but it's also about your walk. It's not always about your talk, but it's sometimes about your walk. Being wise is having character. Being wise is having integrity. Because if you lack character and if you lack integrity, guess what? You're not wise. You're not wise if you lack character and integrity. Why would someone call you wise if you have no character? Why would someone call you wise if you have no integrity? Why would someone call you wise if you never, ever keep your word? Yeah. So being wise is not just about your talk, but it's also about your walk. But James, he goes on here. Verse 14, he says, watch this. He says, but if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. So right here, James is saying that if you are bitter, or if you have strife, or if you have beef with someone, that's not anything to brag about. That's not something that you should glory about. He says that's not something that you should be putting out there on Front Street. Right? So in verse 15, James says that if you exemplify that type of characteristic or that type of behavior, he said that type of behavior is the work of the devil. And that's what the Bible said. I didn't write it. He said if you display that type of behavior, it is the work of the devil. And Grace Center, no one that calls themselves a child of God will brag about how they will mistreat others. No one that calls themselves a child of God is going to boast of how they put others down. Amen. That kind of wisdom does not come from God. But that kind of wisdom, it comes from the enemy. It comes from the devil. It's not heavenly wisdom, but James calls it earthly wisdom. The Living Bible translation says another type of earthly wisdom is being selfish. Being selfish. Being selfish is not wise. Self-seeking motives are wrong, and it can sometimes, watch this, it can lead someone into greed if you're selfish. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and him and his wife are going through a few things, and his wife is an entrepreneur. She do different things. She go back and forth to different states and has different businesses that she does. But in this relationship, when I was talking to him, he was talking about how he's not able to do certain things because he works all the time, right? And she wants him to partake of the business and do more with the business. But he does what he can do on his end. But all she's thinking about is herself and the business, to grow the business, to go to this state and go to that state, and want him to tag along and put some things on hold. She's seeking her own ambitions in life, okay? But she's self-seeking. She's not thinking about him and what he wants to do, all right? Self-seeking ambitions, it will cause sometimes people to go into greed. And James says that is what we call earthly wisdom. There's a story, I haven't told a story in a long time. There's a story of this woman named Maria, okay? Maria was dating this guy named Jimmy, all right? They was dating for a while, and everything was going great. But one day, Maria decided that she would break up with Jimmy. She said, Jimmy, this is not working out anymore. I want to go my separate way. So they separate, they go their separate ways. About a year passes by, Grace Center. After the year passes by, she writes Jimmy a letter. All right, and in this letter, she said, I've been thinking about you. You have been dominating my mind. I can't get my mind off of you. I miss our long walks, our long talks, our hugs, our kisses. I miss all of that, and I want to rekindle our relationship again. Okay, she says all of that in the letter. But at the end of the letter, she says, P.S. Congratulations on winning the lottery. Yeah. That year went by. But she saw something in it for herself that she could now gain. Self-seeking. Not thinking about the other person. That kind of wisdom, Grace Center, is what we call earthly wisdom. Watch this. It's also not wise to covet what somebody else may have. It's not wise to covet even the giftings that somebody else may possess. Okay? Because, watch it, you don't know what that person had to go through to get what they had. Preach on, preacher. I think I will. You have no idea what somebody had to go through to get the anointing that they had, to get the things that they had. You look at our relationship a lot of times. We've been married going on 23 years, but you don't know what she had to put up with. She had to put up with all this right here. She had to put up with all that. Y'all laughing at my jokes today. But you don't know what someone had to go through to get what they had. To get that promotion, to get the house, and to get the family or the friends to get certain things, to get things, and like you have no idea what they had to go through. Some people went through a lot to have what they now have. But it is not a wise thing to covet what somebody else has. Because if they showed you what they went through to have what they now have, you would have done an about face and went in the other direction, because you don't want to partake of any of the meantime things. Because sometimes we go through things in the meantime. You know, the meantime, while you wait for that thing to break through, in the meantime, you're praying. In the meantime, you're fasting. In the meantime, you're seeking the Lord. But sometimes we just have to go through the meantime to get to the end of where we need to get through. But a lot of people don't want to go through the meantime. I said I wasn't going to preach, but I feel I'm preaching my big toe. Sometimes you don't know what somebody has to go through to get what they have. Don't covet what somebody else has, because you don't know what they had to go through to have what they now have.
Amen. Amen.
But James here in his writing, he switches from earthly wisdom and he now goes to heavenly wisdom. So he was talking about earthly wisdom, you know, don't do certain things, don't covet, and you know, all the other different things. But he switches from earthly wisdom to now heavenly wisdom. All right. So verse number 17. Let's look at him switching to heavenly wisdom. Verse 17 it says, "But the wisdom that is from above is first," watch this, "is first pure, then peaceable, then is gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy."
Yeah.
So the first thing that James says about heavenly wisdom is that it is pure. Heavenly wisdom is pure. What James is saying about pure wisdom is that it is not self-seeking. It has no self-seeking motive. Pure wisdom is also not selfish, but it considers others.
Amen.
It's the kind of wisdom that's shared with others because you want to see others advance. You want to see others grow. You want to see others break through barriers. You want to see others tear down walls and tear down strongholds and break shackles that may be holding them back. That is what we call pure wisdom. It's the wisdom that you would give to someone and you have no self-seeking motives behind it. It's the kind of wisdom that will benefit others instead of you trying to benefit from it yourself. That is what we call pure wisdom, and it is a type of heavenly wisdom.
Amen. Amen.
The second kind here, verse 17, he says that the second type of wisdom is peaceable wisdom or peace-loving wisdom. It's the kind of wisdom that is not bitter. It's not jealous. It is not envious. But it's the kind of wisdom that will promote peace instead of strife.
Amen.
It promotes peace when there is friction. It promotes peace when there is discord. It promotes peace when there are disagreements. It promotes peace when things are just going awry. Because it's okay, watch this, it's okay to have disagreements on things, but can we display the wisdom of peace while we disagree? You don't have to tweet about everything because we disagree about something.
Amen.
You don't have to blast someone on social media because we may disagree about something. You don't have to talk about me behind my back because we disagree about something.
Amen.
Just because you disagree on certain things, Grace Center, it doesn't mean that you should lash out against anyone.
Amen.
Just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean that you have to slash their tires or break out somebody's windows just because you have a disagreement.
Amen.
But when there is conflict or controversy or discord or disputes, the heavenly wisdom of peace should be displayed.
Amen.
Someone once said this before. They said, foolishness leads to disorder, but wisdom leads to peace and goodness.
That's right.
Only fools love disputes and love to have arguments.
Amen.
Only a fool. Proverbs, I believe, Proverbs chapter 19, I believe, talks about, the 6 things that God hates. And one of those is when the brethren causes discord against one another. God hates that. That's not heavenly wisdom. That's earthly wisdom. The third kind of wisdom here, I'm almost done. The third kind of wisdom that James talks about is gentleness. Okay? Gentle wisdom is being considerate.
Amen.
It's not being harsh, and it's not being critical.
Amen.
Because you can have wisdom to share with others, but if it comes off as being harsh or critical or too brash, it may not be received in the way that you was trying to deliver it.
My Lord.
You should came to Bible study last Tuesday night. We spoke about that in Bible study, about the tongue and how we need to watch what we say and how we deliver what we say. We spoke about that in Bible study on past Tuesday night. But we have to be gentle, Grayson, in how we display and how we talk to others.
Amen.
That's heavenly wisdom.
Yes.
Think of this analogy right here. Think of a mailman when they come to your home and deliver you a package. Now, they can come and they can toss the package on your door. You'll still get it. Or they can just simply just take your package and place it neatly on your doorstep. You'll still get that as well. So what's the difference in the two? The difference is when they came and just tossed your package on your doorstep, it could have caused some damage in what they were delivering.
Jesus. My Lord.
If they were to just place it on your doorstep, no damage could have happened.
Amen.
You see, you can still deliver your message either way.
Right.
But if you just toss and just throw and just say anything you want to say without being gentle in your delivery, when the other person receives what you are now tossing at them, it can cause some damage. But if you want to be gentle by using heavenly wisdom to simply place the conversation on their doorstep, it will lessen the chance of damage being done when they receive what you are telling them.
That's right.
That's heavenly wisdom.
Amen.
But James, he continues on here, Grace Center. He described another type of heavenly wisdom. He said it is not, or heavenly wisdom is easy to be entreated, or is willing to yield. He also goes on to talk about the heavenly wisdom that's full of mercy and good fruits. In other words, wisdom that's given to others should be compassionate. Compassionate wisdom. It's the kind of wisdom that is willing to help someone in need. Okay? That compassionate wisdom. The wisdom of showing empathy when someone is in need. And a lot of times the church needs to do better about being compassionate and showing empathy to those who need to receive it when they are going through a tough time and a rough patch in their lives.
Amen.
That's heavenly wisdom.
Yes. Yes.
But James, he continues on here. He says heavenly wisdom also should not be, or it should be, impartial and without hypocrisy. Okay? Impartial and without hypocrisy. In other words, this type of wisdom, it shows no favoritism. It's not tilting the scale in the direction of someone else just because you like that person more than you like the other person. Even when I was talking to my friend the other day, I said, now you give me one side of the story. I haven't heard her side of the story yet. There's only one side of the story. I wasn't going to tilt the scale in his direction just because it's his side of the story. I wasn't showing favoritism. But James also says that it's without hypocrisy. You know, wisdom is not telling someone not to do something and then you turn around and you're doing it yourself. That's hypocrisy. That's being a hypocrite. All right? That's earthly. That's devilish. That's evil. But heavenly wisdom is not being a hypocrite, not showing hypocrisy. Okay? That's heavenly wisdom. It's being sincere, it's heartfelt, but it's also genuine. It's interesting, Grace Center, that James, he goes to verse 18 as he closes out chapter 3 here. He goes to verse 18 and he goes back to the wisdom of peace when he goes to verse 18. Now he just spoke about peace in chapter 17. But in verse 18, he goes right back to peace again. I was looking at that in my study time, and I said, why would he go back to peace in verse 18 when he just spoke about peace in verse 17? He spoke about peace in verse 17, goes right back to peace again in verse 18. Like, why would he go back to peace again? You know, Grace Center, peace is something that we all want. Yes. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have no peace, it's nothing that money can do for you. Amen. You can't buy peace. You can't put peace on layaway. You can't put an IOU on peace. You can't put a down payment of peace. If you need peace, we need to seek peace from the Lord. Yes. Peace will give you a good night's sleep. Yes. Peace will cause you to stop pacing the floor back and forth. Peace will sometimes keep you out of the hospital. Peace will sometimes keep your blood pressure a little bit lower. Peace will give you a brand new thought on life. Peace will keep you from jumping off a 25-story building. Peace will keep you from blowing your brains out. Peace will stop you from jumping out over the ledge. Peace is what we all should seek. So as James is talking to this early church, these early believers, these teachers, these religious people, he's saying, no, let me circle the wagon again and let me go back to peace. Yeah. You need to seek the peace of the Lord and not the earthly things in life. Amen. Amen. It is peace. Peace. Grace unto God. God also loved peacemakers. He loved peacemakers. As a matter of fact, when Jesus was on the Sermon of the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, he said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Yes, yes. I don't know everything that was happening in this early church. I don't know all of the details that was going on. But the Bible is clear about this one thing, that God wants us to have some peace, and he wants us to display the wisdom of peace. Amen. It even says in verse 18, it says that and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. In other words, God is saying, if you sow peace, you are blessed. Amen. Think of a farmer who is planting seeds. Whatever they throw out, the seeds they throw out is the harvest, is what they're going to get back in return. Amen. So if you continue to sow peace, you'll probably have some peace. James is saying, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace. And sometimes the church has to sow more peace. Amen. Not just the church corporately, but the church individually. Amen. Because I am the church, you are the church, we are the church, and the church needs to sow more peace. You know, one of the movies we watched this past Friday night, War Room, very popular movie. In this movie, the woman, she was going through different things with her husband, and she had a difficult time in the beginning, you know, forgiving her husband, praying for her husband, and just being there for her husband. But she met this older lady, and this older lady showed her how to pray for her husband and how to let some things go. In other words, this older lady showed her how to have some peace in her home.
Amen.
The older lady showed her how to sow peace. And when she began to sow peace, what happened was it hit the husband. And then the husband was doing some illegal things on the job. But yet when he got caught doing the things that he was doing, he came to Christ. He rededicated his life back to Christ. And he could have went to jail over some things that he was doing, but he decided to make some things right in his life with his previous employer. He told his previous employer what he had done, all the things that he was doing with the company money and so forth. And the company decided not to prosecute him for what he was doing. He sold peace, and in return, he got some peace.
Amen.
When you sow peace, you get peace.
Amen.
If you sow discord, you're going to get discord.
Yeah.
If you sow disputes, you're going to get disputes.
Yeah.
If you sow disagreements, you're going to get back a whole lot of disagreements.
Yeah.
Blessed are the peacemakers,
Yeah.
for they shall be called
Yeah.
the children of God.
Yeah.
I'm closing. So what is earthly wisdom? All right, earthly wisdom is bitter, is envious, is self-seeking, and is evil. All right. What is heavenly wisdom? Heavenly wisdom, it is pure, is peaceable, is gentle, it yields to others, is full of mercy. It doesn't show any favoritism, and it is not critical. And the question that I want to pose to you today, as a child of God, which one of these two types of wisdom that the church should display? Is it earthly wisdom, or is it heavenly wisdom? I believe without a shadow of a doubt, there's heavenly wisdom.
Amen.
And if we display heavenly wisdom, perhaps in our homes and in our lives, we'll have some more peace.
Yes.
And perhaps that's why James circled the wagon back again and said, let me talk about peace again. That's heavenly wisdom. It's not self-seeking. It's not what I can get out of this. It's not me, myself, and I, but it's thinking about others. That's the heavenly wisdom that God wants the church to have. Earthly wisdom is jealousy, it's covetousness, it's self-seeking, it's backbiting, it's causing disputes and chaos. But heavenly wisdom said, you know what? I'm going to display peace in the midst of everything that's going on. I'm not going to seek out what's best for me, but I'm going to seek out what's best for others. And that's the difference in earthly peace and heavenly peace.